feel like I want to say the Scarecrow from the Tin Man. I feel like the Tin Man. Hello, and welcome to the second episode of my Crochet Studio Sessions. Big thanks to those who watched and commented on the last one. If you're new here and you didn't see it, then I'll link to it. Today I want to share the final journey in the creation of the Lark Sweater Design. You have to excuse the croak because I have COVID, but we're here anyway. So I'm going to follow up on last week's discussions about the sleeve design that I was trying out. You can see how that progresses, and I'm going to have a little sneak peek of the final sweater. And the other new thing I have, if all goes well, I'm recording this on Wednesday and I have a few bits left to finish. But if all goes well, by the time you watch this, the pattern should be out in my brand new YouTube shop, which is a very new thing for me that I'm experimenting with. Obviously, Etsy, Ravelry, Lovecraft, you can still always buy there. But sometimes it's just easier to go straight to it. It's a very simple shop design, which just gets straight to the point. So all being well, you should be able to click at the end of the video, or there might even be a little thing along the bottom, still not sure how it works, and purchase the pattern if you are interested. So I've pre-recorded some videos again. I'm going to show you all of that, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to have a first try of the sweater. So it's finished blocking. I did have some issues, which I do talk about a little bit, when I like to block the panels first. So I block the pieces before seaming them because it's much easier to get it to size that way. I had some issues with this yarn running. It was the, I still got the leftovers here on my desk. It was this one that was the culprit. So I'm a bit gutted about that, I'm not going to lie. It's not totally obvious unless you know what you're looking for, and there's only a little bit on the back. Most of the colour on was on the wrong side, so very grateful that it could have been worse. There's just a few tiny bits on the back that look a little bit like, you know, you looked at a light and you get that little flash, tiny bit like that. So I'm not sure why it happened. I guess this is a really strong colour. Some yarns are less colour fast. It might be the water was a little bit too on the warm side. I can never do it hot, but I like to do it kind of tepidish. When I went and blocked the sleeves after doing the bodies, I was very sure to make it ice cold. Honestly, doesn't make a difference. I don't know. I'm not a dye expert, but perhaps we'll have a conversation with one sometime. It's a nice idea. Anyway, without further waffle, I'm going to show you all the videos. I'm going to come back and we're going to try on the finished sweater. Fingers crossed. Hi. Since my last email, no, not since my last email. In my last video, I talked about this sleeve and how it was a slightly different approach to shaping, that I was shaping in the center on the fold rather than on the edges. So if this is the kind of shoulder up there and head's there and underarm, you've got this kind of slope that comes down. And then this will be straight across the underarm. Now, after I looked at this, I got a bit worried about this change in the cadence of the increase. So I've used this green yarn as a running stitch marker, and here I'm increasing every other row. And sorry, here I'm increasing every 4 rows. And then the last bit I'm increasing every 2 rows. So this is why the angle of that increase changes. I got a bit scared that that's going to look a bit weird when I put it on my body. So when I went to make the second sleeve, bearing in mind I've already messed up the gauge on this sleeve. So this gauge is much looser than this side because I changed its size. But this first round is an opportunity to experiment, so I'm just embracing the fact I'm going to have to make these again. But I am this bit of gauge is fun, so this is what I'm aiming for the rest of the sweater. So after I did this and I looked at it and I thought I need to graduate these increases a bit better. So sleeve number 2, I've started the first sort of increase section again, a bit like here, with one increase every 4 rows. But then as I go further up, I've increased every 2 rows, then every 4 rows. So it's more of a kind of gentle slope. You can see that this bit is wider than this bit. So we've got more fabric here, but that's hopefully going to work better for the fit. Now, I don't think arms particularly increase in size in kind of a standard way. But I was just, this didn't make me happy. So I'm going to pin these under here. Bear in mind, I'm definitely going to flog these because I'm not happy with either of them. And actually, here's some honesty. I had a nightmare with my gauge with this, partly because the swatch that I made, I had quite a tight tension, and when I blocked it, it stretched a bit, but not that much. However, when I blocked the body, which I've now sewn together, the stretch was way more than I was anticipating, partly because this yarn is a different yarn to this cream. They're both merino blends, but they're a different brand, they have a slightly different twist. This section also stretched a lot more, or this yarn stretched a lot more. So my gauge, hold that thought because I do still have it somewhere, I think. Okay, so here is my gauge swatch. So the way I made this swatch, I made this stitch pattern, and then this is the colour work, but without changing colours. So it's the same stitch pattern I've used for the colour work, but no colour changes. And actually, just looking at it, I can see that here it's not as these stitches are smaller. Just visually, they're a bit more compact. Let's have a look at the wrong side, which this is. Yeah, it's probably quite hard to see on the camera, but this is definitely, I mean, even comparing these rows, you can see there's a difference. So this size just didn't seem to stretch as much as over a bigger area. So that was partly my bad. I think my previous tension was a little off as well. It was a little bit more relaxed. Though it was sort of tighter at this beginning section, and then it loosened up. So this is really a note to follow my own instructions. Anyway, without going too off tangent, the next plan, I've literally just finished showing up the side seams and the shoulder. I've decided I'm going to turn this one into a tank top because it's definitely too big. I'll show you what it looks like on in a minute. I'm just going to stick some pins along here, and then we're going to sort of try those sleeves on. Don't know how it's going to work out, but let's see. Right, so here I've got my 2 pinned sleeves. So the idea is, this is the top, this goes along here. So this is the one with the more prominent increase, and then this is the other one. Just going to go like that. Here's my penguin in the background. And then here is a very roughly sewn tank top. This is going to end up as a little tank. So I'm going to pop this on and then see how the sleeves look. Don't worry, I'm not naked. You can see here this bit way too big. I mean, you will have a little bit excess there that will join to the sleeves, but this bit in particular, I've also got it on backwards. That's not good. Lengthwise, this is actually about the right length that I want it to be, but I want to add ribbing on the bottom, so I'm going to take a good couple of inches off the length. I quite like, so this one's got shaping, which I actually quite like the fit around here. You can see where the shaping ends and then it gapes a bit there. So the next one I'm going to take out the shaping anyway. This is going to bug me forever. But yeah, other than that, you can see the shoulder slope. You can see kind of, I've not sewn it very neatly, but you can kind of see where the short bows are. So I'm quite pleased with that. I think it definitely makes a difference to how it sort of sits on my shoulders, although. So there's the back. This will have a little neck collar. What I'm going to do, so I can actually use this, because I'm going to frog the sleeves, I'm going to keep this. I am going to use one of these colours and add, I think I might leave the bottom as is actually, but I'm going to add some ribbing around the sleeves and the neck, and it's just going to be a bit of an oversized tank top, sleeve time. So this was the first sleeve I made. Bear in mind this is not blocked. This, I feel like I want to say the scarecrow from the Tin Man. I feel like the Tin Man. Anyway, this is the idea that you get all these ends out the way. You've got your kind of cut out, so that's going to join there. But you can see, it's so interesting. You can't see it on the camera, but you can tell, you can really tell the bit that hasn't been blocked. This is a little bit shorter because I want a cuff, and the idea is it will kind of come in there and do that. So you can see this kind of slight difference in shaping. Sort of makes me look like I've got a big bicep. So that is the first one. Let's see if I can keep it on there while I put the other one on. So pins going at the underside. It's definitely Tin Man. This is interesting because this, and it may partly be the way I've pinned it, I can definitely feel more space here compared to this one. Like this feels a bit cozier here, which makes sense because there is, there is more, because the increases start lower down, this has more fabric. But I think you can see that's where the running stitch marker is. I don't have that kind of sudden jump. Okay, I'm never going to get this perfect, but hopefully you can see, yeah, look at that. Like that is just nice and smooth. That. Ooh. Okay, that was a worthwhile experiment. So next plan for this, I'm going to frog both these sleeves. Yes, I want to cry, but sometimes you have to suck that stuff up. I'm just going to stand here like this. Yeah, I'm going to frog both of them. And I'm going to take some more measurements, some more unblocked measurements of these sleeves and just reassess my gauge, kind of pre and post blocking. Well, the post blocking gauge I'm happy with. I've just got to make sure the tension on my pre-blocked fabric is suitable to achieve that. So next stage, frog both the sleeves, take some measurements, frog the sleeves. Then I'm going to start on my finished version. I will add some ribbing here and here because I think I know what ribbing I want to do, but I want to see it in action. So even though this is kind of well, it's a lot too big really, I can still use this as an experimental version. Sometimes designs, especially when you're using techniques that are new to me, this is just the way it goes. You've got to frog a lot. You try things out, they don't quite work. Sometimes they don't work for reasons you didn't anticipate. In this case, it was my tension. I actually quite like these hanging down. I kind of want to make it a hoodie. Should I put a hood on it? I do like the colour work though. This was new, having colour work here that wasn't straight at the top. But looking at it, I'm obviously just filming looking at myself, so I will try and look at the camera more, I promise. Or so I'm making eye contact with you, but it's hard not to look at yourself. So I'm actually quite happy with the kind of proportions and that kind of thing. And I like, especially, standing at a distance. I think it's quite effective where the colour work's placed. So that is a win. I really like the neck shaping. I definitely need to... I've actually made some tweaks on the way I do the shoulder short rows in the final one as well. So when I do sew them together, I mean, literally, I did it with quite a blunt needle, and that one's a bit better, but it will be a neater seam. So yeah, it is worth doing all the things a bit wrong so you know how you don't want them to be. All in all, I'm actually quite pleased. So I'm going to call that a big learning curve. I'm going to crack on with these things. So ribbing, frogging, measuring, starting again. Let's do it. Here's a peek at the front and back panels before I've blocked them. We've got quite a lot of curl. We've got nice consistency in my tension. There's a lot of curl going on. Time to give them a bath. We're nearing the end of the Lark sweater. This is my second sleeve that I've blocked here. It's still slightly damp, but for the purposes of what I want to show you here, that's not a problem. So in this section, what I want to show you is how you go about constructing a modified drop sweater. So I just unpin the last of these. They didn't need much blocking, these sleeves, just flattening out. Because the way I've increased on these, there's some kind of bubbly bits, but that is fine. They don't have to be absolutely flat in order to join. So these are the sleeves that I have worked quite differently. I've increased in the middle instead of the edges, so they still pull out at the edges, but you can see it's got kind of a little sleeve cap. So I'm going to show you how that's going to work in this particular construction. So let's get all my pieces out. When you're blocking, I've got a schematic which shows you all of the sizes. That's with the pattern for the Lark sweater, so you need to block to those sizes. When it comes to joining, and I'll put a still of this diagram up, but this is my joining schematic of how I'm going to join this modified drop sweater. Pretty much the same for all modified drops, but this one again, we've got some slight differences with the sleeves. I've left really long tails on my sleeves because I'm going to use that to do some of the sewing. It's just one less end to sew in. Okay, so let's just move this so check you can get a really good view of this. Oh, I spilled my tea. Okay, how to join a modified drop sweater in 60 seconds. These are my panels, front panel, back panel, sleeves. The right sides are all facing. I'm going to flip that over, sew the shoulder seams together. Then I'm going to sew in the sleeves along there, up and along there. Then when the sleeves are both in, I'm going to keep it flipped over. The sleeves will fold in half, the panels will fold in half. This is the back. And then once I've done that, we're going to have something that looks like that. And I'm going to sew up the side seams and along the underarms on both sides. Then I can add my cuffs, my hem, my collar. Did I make 60 seconds? You can see, oh goodness, I had some colour run issues with this yarn. I'm so relieved that's on the wrong side. It was the orange what done it. Oh no, there is a bit here. Let's hope I can, let's hope nobody notices. In your modified drop sleeve, it's a bit harder to tell in this, but it's much easier with the bigger size. We've got the increases out here, and then it flattens out at the edge. And this flat bit is gonna align with this. So your flat edging, which in this side is 5 rows, so it's these 5 rows here, that is gonna align in there, so it's gonna tuck in. And that is why, if you look on your schematic for this or any other modified drop, your sleeve is going to be longer here than it is here. So this bit is going to form the underarm. One thing I am quite excited about is I talked in my last studio session about, and I've already talked about the first attempt at these sleeves with the increases in the centre instead of the edges. And I'm not going to lie, I'm quite delighted. So if this is the front of the sweater, and you imagine that's sewn, you've got this nice shoulder slope here, and then the slope kind of continues with your body, and that's on the top of the shoulder, not the bottom. So obviously I haven't tried it on yet, haven't tried the finished thing on. I kind of did an attempt in the earlier part of this video, and I looked like the Tin Man, but I'm okay because it told me what I needed to know. So this is the bit I'm super excited about. I'm ignoring the fact that we have had some colour fast issues and there is some like little splodges here. Yeah, I'm just in denial about that at the moment. I'm just procrastinating now because I've got to go and sew it. So let's do this. I'll come back, I'll show you when I've done the shoulders and sleeve seams. Quick update, this is the right side. Like I said, it's not going to sit flat. So I have sewn the shoulders, I have sewn in the sleeves. I haven't sewn that little bit in yet. I need to still do that little bit. But on this side I've sewn them where they get set in to the modified drop section. And then if I turn it, so this will be the right way around. Let's just come up and give you a little close up. So this is where we have the shoulder seam, and then you can see there where I've sewn round that corner for the sleeves. So should we do a little fit check? I'm a bit scared, I haven't even put it over my head, but let's do it. So we're going to end up, when I've sewed it, like that. It's a bit wonky obviously. The only thing I can really tell from this, to be honest, is that it fits over my head nicely and that the length is good once I've added the thingy, what's it? Okay, bit more sewing and then I'm not going to show you until it's finished. I said I wasn't going to show you again until I was finished, but I've just finished seaming. Obviously turned it the right way around, so most of the ends are hidden at the moment, but I just want to double check I'm not a million miles off. Oh yeah, I like this. Okay, so I'm okay with this. I'm gonna give it a steam. Once it's finished, I will give it like a final steam so it can relax a little bit, but I've got plenty of space for the cuffs still. Oh, tip, when I was sewing this together, I sewed the matching ends using the tails. So like where's my underarm seam? There it is. Just so you can't really notice the seams. Quite pleased with that. Good. I can go and put a rib neck on, which is just going to tidy this up and pull it in a bit. Still got plenty of space under the sleeves. Marginally a little bit tight in the body just because of my tension issues we talked about. But having said that, yeah, I'm actually happy. Let's go rib till the end of time. We left off where I was about to go and do the ribbing, so I'm excited to give you the first look at the finished Lark sweater, which is here. So I have given it a little steam. There is the back. I've just given it a very gentle steam after my colour issues with the blocking first time. I've just steamed the, shall I say steam again? I've just steamed the seams just to help lay flat. I've just got this, it's still over here. I've actually just got a little travel steamer that I use, which seems sufficient for all the blocking I do. So I'll just put that back there. I actually haven't tried it on. That's the back, that's the front, this is the right way round. Here's my sleeves. I'm really pleased with the ribbing. This is just half double and slip stitch. But I really like it on a cuff, and it's got a reasonable amount of stretch. Pulls in very slightly at the bottom. I could have probably gone a bit longer with the ribbing at the bottom, but I wanted it to match the cuff. Sorry, I've got a couple of marks there, and I really hope that's just water from the steamer. Should we try it on? Okay, let's do this. So it is quite fitted, partly because I overcompensated a little bit with my tension after the first version was finished, but here we go. I'm just gonna give you a little move. So it's quite the crew neck just sits around my neck, which I'm pleased about because that's exactly the sort of fit that I wanted. I didn't want anything too low or too high, so that feels like a really nice fit. Here is the back. Yeah, I'll take that. Any questions? What do you think? Let me know. I'm really pleased with the colour placing. I went down a lot of rabbit holes when I was thinking about this design as to where I put the colour work, and I did think about doing it at the bottom, which I wouldn't rule out for another version. But I'm really pleased with the little chunk and then the cream bit above it. I didn't really want to go all the way to the top. And then the sleeves just kind of balance it out. I did think about putting it here, but actually with this style of design, you'd have had to be so precise to get the lines right so it didn't make this front bit kind of, so it didn't jar with it, that actually it's easier to kind of place it away so you don't need to pattern match, because pattern matching across that, it just wouldn't really work. But anyway, I'm pretty pleased with this sweater, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a journey. Pattern should be out now, all being well. Yeah, let me know what you think. I genuinely think I have nothing else to add, which is rare for me. I'm going to go and take some finished photos of this because I'm recording this on Wednesday. I've still got to add it to the pattern, and I'm keeping everything crossed that on Thursday when you get this, it'll all be done. So pray for me. With that, I will see you in 2 weeks' time in the next studio session. Please let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about. I've got loads of ideas about things I want to discuss, because I think this sort of long form YouTube, you're able to get into the nuance of it a lot more than, you know, Instagram or Twitter, where it's kind of flash and gone, and I'm able to really get stuck in about the stuff I'm enthusiastic about. So if there's anything you want me to dig into, please let me know, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.